The first thing Marcus Kane noticed wasn't the smell of burnt coffee or the hum of the old diner's neon sign. It was the bruise. Dark purple, just below the sleeve of the waitress's uniform, poorly hidden but impossible to miss if you were used to seeing pain. Marcus froze mid-step, his heavy boots scuffing the tiled floor as the entire diner seemed to hold its breath. People in town feared him, whispered his name like a warning. But at that moment, the feared biker gang leader felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. The waitress's name was Emily Harper. She couldn't have been more than 24, with tired eyes that carried stories she never told. She moved quickly between tables, smiling on command, apologizing too often, flinching whenever a customer raised their voice even slightly. When she reached Marcus's booth, her hands trembled as she poured his coffee. She tried to pull her sleeve down, but the bruise had already been seen. Marcus didn't say a word at first. He had learned long ago that silence could be louder than shouting. His gang, the Iron Serpents, filled the back of the diner, leather jackets, tattoos, rough laughter. Everyone else avoided eye contact. Emily kept her gaze on the table, praying he wouldn't ask questions. Questions led to answers, and answers led to trouble. But Marcus broke the silence gently. "That looks like it hurts," he said, his voice low and steady. Emily swallowed hard and forced a smile. "Just clumsy, sir, I'm fine." Marcus knew lies. He had lived in them most of his life. He nodded slowly, not pushing, but his eyes followed her as she walked away. Memories rose uninvited, his mother, Ruth Kane, hiding bruises under long sleeves, telling the same lie. Just clumsy. Back then, no one had stepped in. Not the neighbors, not the church, not the law. When Marcus left the diner, the town exhaled in relief. But Emily felt a strange fear settle deeper in her stomach. Men like him didn't notice things unless they planned to use them. That night, when she returned to the small apartment she shared with her boyfriend, Daniel Brooks, the tension was thick. Daniel's temper had been worse lately: missed payments, lost jobs, bottles piling up in the sink. When he saw her exhausted face, he accused her of flirting with customers. The argument escalated quickly, as it always did. Another bruise joined the others. The next morning, Marcus returned to the diner alone. No gang, no leather jacket, just a plain black shirt. Emily stiffened when she saw him, but he kept his distance, ordering coffee and watching quietly. When her shift ended, he stood and placed a generous tip on the table. "Emily," he said softly, surprising her by knowing her name. "If you ever need help, real help, you can find me at the old garage on Pine Street." She shook her head quickly. "I don't need help." "I hope that's true," Marcus replied. "But if it isn't, the door's open." Emily didn't go that day, or the next. Fear is a heavy chain, and Daniel had wrapped it tight around her life. But the bruises grew worse, and the apologies meant nothing. One night, after a particularly violent outburst, Emily locked herself in the bathroom, slid down the door, and cried until her chest ached. That was when she remembered Marcus's eyes, not cruel, not hungry for control, but something else. Regret. Understanding. The next afternoon, she stood trembling outside the old garage. The Iron Serpent's bikes lined the yard like steel beasts. Men watched her carefully as she approached. Marcus stepped forward, raising a hand to stop them. "She's safe," he said firmly. Emily told her story in broken pieces. The abuse, the fear, the shame. She expected judgment. Instead, she received silence and respect. Marcus listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with every word. "No one deserves that," he said when she finished. "No one." He didn't offer violence. That shocked her most. Instead, Marcus made calls, quiet, strategic calls. He contacted Grace Miller, a church volunteer who ran a local women's shelter. He spoke to Sheriff Thomas Reed, an old rival he'd never trusted but respected. For the first time, the biker gang leader chose the law over fists. When Daniel came looking for Emily that night, he found police waiting instead. The town watched in disbelief as the man everyone feared worked alongside the sheriff. Charges were filed. Protection orders issued. Emily moved into the shelter, supported by people she never knew cared. The story spread like wildfire. The Iron Serpents began escorting women safely home from late shifts. They fixed broken cars for free. They raised money for the shelter. People whispered again, but this time with confusion instead of fear. Marcus visited the diner one last time months later. Emily was still there, but she stood straighter now. The bruises were gone. Her smile was real. "I start nursing school next week," she told him proudly. Marcus nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You saved yourself, Emily. I just opened a door." As he walked out, the town realized something powerful. Redemption can come from the most unexpected places. Strength isn't always loud. And sometimes, the man everyone feared becomes the one who reminds them what courage truly looks like.